there is one version of these events where the end result is the ACC goes the way of the Big East. And if that happens, then everybody's going to be looking for a landing spot.
Speaking of North Carolina, and I don't want to put you on the spot too much here if you haven't had a chance to see a ton of this, but it seems like there's just a lot of different factions going on there. You got
Mhm.
one piece seemingly upset by one piece of the well. First of all, you have the board of trustees of the state and or board of governors and the board of
Right.
trustees at North Carolina. There's just a lot of parties there, but some seem to want Big Ten or perhaps stay in the ACC. Some are more like gung ho, get to the SEC, and they're all kind of fighting with each other. And they were trying to stop each other from being able to talk in closed session about what's going to happen with the future of North Carolina. Just how do you see that playing out? I know I asked you a similar question, but
Mhm.
having this continue to go on at UNC where they seem very divided, how do you feel like that winds up playing out for them?
This is going to be a huge mess. And it's one of the reasons why Florida State is in the position they are today. There's really three issues that need to be addressed in North Carolina before they even know what direction they want to go. First, there was the public revelation that the athletic department operated at a $17 million deficit. So you have to have cash to actually want to do anything. Florida State did a good job coming out of COVID and building up their cash reserves for this endeavor that they're going down. Second is the leadership, as you pointed out. You have to all know which direction you want to row the boat in. And Florida State is blessed with a great booster president, a great university president, a great coach and athletic director. So the four of them are working in concert to make sure that this vision that they've laid out for Florida State is the end goal that they're trying to achieve, get into one of the Power Two conferences. But remember, at first blush, a year ago, those conversations weren't all harmonious. Everybody wasn't all speaking in the same approach because there hadn't been enough time to address that. North Carolina is just now coming to the revelation of what Florida State was saying a year ago. We were getting ostracized at the annual meeting about being troublemakers and talking about what these revenue numbers were going to look like and what these revenue projections are. Well, what's happened is that the story is coming true, and North Carolina is starting to see these same numbers. You have the college football playoff with their disparate payouts for the different conferences, have the snub in the playoffs for the ACC. So now all those pieces that Florida State was articulating earlier on are just much more clear. As to what the end result is, the ACC and North Carolina, UNC, are tied at the hip. And if there is a version of these events that lead to a successful ACC in the future, it's going to include North Carolina. But there is one version of these events where the end result is the ACC goes the way of the Big East. And if that happens, then everybody's going to be looking for a landing spot.
Is their best move at this point, especially since they have so much division right now, just to kind of let Florida State and Clemson do the dirty work, for lack of a better term?
I think their finances mandate that. I think
Yeah.
that's the corner that they're painted into. And I think Miami is doing the same thing. They're peeking around the corner, just waiting to see what happens. I can only believe that there's 4 or 5 landing spots in other conferences in the Power Two for ACC members. That's the reason why we're here, because those lower tier members, especially the newly invited members, do not bring the respect or revenue that the top tier members do. And absent an agreement in the ACC for a variation of the payouts to those members, the top tier members are going to end up in one of the other conferences. Whether that cutoff line is 4, 5, or 6, I don't know. That's for the Big 12 and the Big 10 to decide when they make their decisions.
Well, so what comes next? Now that we have this step, what do you anticipate is next in the Florida State piece of this?
So we already have a June 18th hearing in Leon County. That's probably just a status conference right now. The ACC has 20 days from the time of the second amended complaint to issue their responsive pleadings. So we're really going back in time, and we're going to see another motion to dismiss, motion to stay, all the same filings that they filed after this first amended complaint. They're likely going to file again. So we will have a hearing on that issue, and Judge Cooper will have to decide if this case is going to move forward or not. At the same time, simultaneously in North Carolina, Florida State has just filed their motion. I actually pulled it up on my computer, haven't gone through all 536 pages yet, But I got it this morning. So they've filed their brief with the Supreme Court of North Carolina asking for Judge Bledsoe's ruling to be overturned. Judge Bledsoe found that the sovereign immunity statute doesn't protect Florida State from being sued. There's an implied waiver of the sovereign immunity statute and protection. So that's what they're going to be asking the North Carolina Supreme Court to address. And that's a question of whether or not the North Carolina Supreme Court even wants to hear it. It is voluntary. They can decide whether or not they're going to hear matters. This is a high profile case, so I suspect they'll probably take it up, but that'll be the next step in the North Carolina case.
If Florida State and or Clemson is victorious here, that basically means, right, that the door is just wide open for anybody else, North Carolina, Miami, whoever wants to leave like the next day they can, or do they have to then take it through the legal system again? Like, how do you foresee that working if that were the outcome?
Well, whatever happens in either case is going to be applicable to the conference as a whole. So one way that Florida State could get out of this is to say, yes, there was a breach of fiduciary duty, and the ACC failed to negotiate its contracts in a way that profited the members. Let's say that's the point they went on. Well, that applies to the entire spectrum of ACC members. There's a breach of contract. Let's say at some point, and this is a tougher one because of the statute of limitations issue that comes with breach of contract issues. Florida State did wait a long time. That's a valid complaint. And why is FSU creating this litigation so long after signing the contracts? Well, the breach of contract statute of limitations is based on when the breach occurs. So what was the breach and when did that happen? As long as that happened in the last 5 years, then that is a valid claim. If it was something 6 years ago or further back, you can't pursue a breach of contract claim in Florida. If alternatively, the declaratory judgment action interprets the language in the way that we laid out at the beginning, there is no statute of limitations to that. There's no defense to that. That's just what the words mean. And if the court agrees with either Clemson or Florida State that the words mean what they're alleging, then the grant of rights doesn't hold any member institution together. So there are some significant risks. And for that reason, it would be foolish for the ACC to decide this is worth a 3-year legal battle.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff, Doug. I appreciate it. You always break it down in such a digestible way for everybody. This has been awesome again. Tell everybody where they can find you. I know you're very active on Twitter for those that want to stay up with it. And I'll have Doug's Twitter in the comments, or not the comments, the description of the video as well, if you want to find that. But yeah, whatever you want to tell everybody, Doug.
Sure. Rohan Law PC is a law firm out of Atlanta, Georgia. We specialize in criminal defense and work accidents, and we've been around for 10 years. I've been practicing for almost 25 years now, and I love explaining the law to my clients. And so that's why I've developed this niche, and that's why we've been so popular lately. I use that skill with my other passion, which is Florida State. And I'm not going to hide the fact that, yes, I am a homer, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I am not setting up my fans for failure or for frustration by giving them the realistic expectation of what I'm seeing. So I know there's other viewpoints out there. I'm not here to tell you where the case is going. I'm here to be your tour guide and tell you what's happening as we pass by. But if you need anything in Atlanta or in the Georgia area, we'd love to be your best friends on your worst day. We know that nobody wants to call our office, but we're here if you need us. And until then, do follow us on social media. We're all over Twitter, breaking down the FSU litigation whenever there's an update. And I suspect that this is going to continue along for several more months.